So far, we've learned some pretty powerful stuff with JavaScript in terms of getting the fundamentals of what you need to do lots of crazy things programming. What we're going to look at now are some other libraries that people have made available, and we're going to start with JQuery. This is something that we could do a whole 1-credit class on. We maybe could do a 3-credit class on it. It's a big and very powerful set of JavaScript libraries. I'm going to give you the overview of them because they require a deeper knowledge of HTML and cascading style sheets than is required for this class. So I'm going to just give you kind of a quick look at what it can do and some of its capabilities. And I'll point you to some tutorials in the notes that will give you the opportunity to learn a lot more if you want to. So here I've kind of pasted in some text that you'll be able to use. As I mentioned, JQuery is a JavaScript library, and so you need to import all of those library files. You can download those files yourself from JQuery, but they're also available on Content Distribution Network CDNs, including from Google, and so we're just going to use their CDN version of it. So that's what we have here in the script tag. In the head, we're just importing the JQuery libraries. Now that we have that, we're going to go into the body of the document and we're going to add the script tag. And in there, we're going to put our JavaScript code. Okay, so JQuery code looks a lot different than what we've been using so far. We're going to start like this. Okay, so this is JQuery code. It's JavaScript, but it's different with this $sign. It's stuff that we haven't seen before. And basically, this is the JQuery code that says after the whole body of the document has loaded, then we're going to add some functionality here. What JQuery lets you do is interact with elements on the page. So you can hide things, you can display things, you can change the style. It basically gives you control over the HTML and the style sheet so you can make cool looking effects and interactive stuff on the page. So all of our code is going to go inside this kind of weird looking function here that basically says once the document is loaded, then here's some stuff to do. Once you're in there, what you're going to do is here we have this $sign and then in parentheses document. This is kind of like it's referring to the document object model. In jQuery, this is called a selector. So we're selecting elements in the page that we're going to be interacting with. So here we've said we're selecting the document, and once it's ready, we're going to do whatever comes in this function. In there, we're going to put some more methods. So here's one where I say I'm going to select anything that's a button on the page, and once that button has been clicked, then I'm going to do whatever comes inside this function that I'm defining here. So select the document, and when it's ready, select the button, and when it's clicked, then we're going to do something else. What goes in this function is also jQuery code. You can't just put arbitrary JavaScript. You're going to select something and then give a command for what's done with it. So for example, let's say when someone clicks a button, then we're going to select all of the paragraph tags in the document, and then we're going to do something to them. There's a set of capabilities that you have in JavaScript, in jQuery, things that you can do. So one thing we can do is hide. And so that basically means anything with the p tag will disappear. Now, this is not a super practical thing to do, but it's a good example to get us started. So this says, select the document, and when it's ready, run this function. That function says select anything called a button, and when it's clicked, select anything that's a p tag and hide it. So to do that, we have to add in a button, and we have to put in a p tag. All right, let's come over here, try that. So we have our button, click me. We have our text hello world, and when we click the button, hello world disappears. So you've probably actually seen this in practice where you have menus on pages that you can click and they'll expand, you can click again and they'll disappear. That's using this same technology. So you're essentially using JavaScript here. that can understand interactions people are making on the page, like clicking, and they control the way things that appear on the page, like hiding stuff. I'm going to link you to some tutorials that will talk to you about the different things that can happen. But as an example of something a little bit cooler, even if it's not more practical, than hide, is that you can do fade out. So if we come back here and we reload, we have the same looking page, but if you watch, when we click the button, Hello World is going to fade away. All right, it doesn't just disappear, it kind of fades out. If that's too fast, you can actually put a number in here. This is how long it will take to fade out. So let's say 5,000. And you can see it slowly fades away. That 5,000 is number of milliseconds, so 1,000 of them makes 1 second. So that says it takes 5 seconds to fade away, which is about what it does. We've clicked and there it goes, slowly fading out, which is pretty cool. Let's do one more example just to show that working. Let's put an image in here. I have a file called dogs.jpg, and I'm going to add class equals dogs. Now, this is some HTML and CSS. It basically says the cascading style sheets class that I'm going to refer to here is called dogs. I can then specify some CSS that says what that looks like. I haven't done that, but I'm including it here to just show you one other feature of what we can do with JQuery. So here I've said anything that's in a p tag should fade out. What I can do instead is say anything, and I put a dot, anything with the dogs class. This is cascading style sheets code that we start with the dot. If you're not familiar with that, don't worry. I'll leave the fade out, but I'll make that a 1. So this is going to show a picture of my dogs on the page, and when I click the button, that picture is going to fade out. So let's try that. Here's our page, there's my dogs, and click the button, and the image fades away. Pretty cool. So it gives you these really interesting capabilities of making fun, interactive, dynamic pages in ways that you can't do with basic HTML. Let's do one more example here. I'm going to put in a div. Again, this may be a little more advanced HTML and CSS than you're used to. If so, don't worry about it. I'll kind of explain it, but this is more to just show you the capabilities. So a div basically defines a section of a page. This style is going to have some cascading style sheets code inside the quotes. So this is just coloring it kind of greenish color, saying it's 100 pixels high, 100 pixels wide, and its position is absolute, which is just a way of positioning it on the page. What I can do with my jQuery then is I can say, let's find the div tags, and we're going to animate the div tag. So let's do, we're going to move it to the left, or we're going to actually add the left margin up to 250 pixels. And so that goes inside the animation. So when I click the button, we'll find anything that's a div, and we'll animate it by increasing the left margin by 250 pixels. Here we're going to come back to our page. Let me shrink that a bit so we can see our little green box down there under the picture. I click the button and it slides over. One more time. Pretty cool. Again, it's not something that would be easy with just kind of standard JavaScript you read on your own. Definitely not possible in HTML or CSS by themselves, but the combination is really interesting and great. There's tons of tutorials on jQuery online, and so this is just one way of giving you a peek. The core idea to remember here is that you have a selector and then a function or an event. So this selects the document. This is the event when it's ready. This selects buttons. This is the event when they're clicked. This selects divs. This is the event to do move them. And that's the basis of what goes on in jQuery.